7 students are both in the dog group and in band, so that cell is 7.
In the moonlit data marsh, every data point exists as a physical object, a shell, a reed, or a track in the clay. By observing where they settle, we track 2 different categories at the exact same time. Notice the herons surveying the shallows. The environment maps out a grid. The carved bank marks represent one category, while the water lines represent another. We'll start with a class survey. 12 students prefer dogs and 8 prefer cats. These values are recorded along the bank. When we add band participation as a second category, we find that 7 students from the dog group are also in the band. We need to find where these 2 traits overlap. Look at this matrix in the clay. Following the dog row to where it meets the band column leads us to a single cell. We record the 7 students here. This specific intersection is called a joint frequency. Mapping these overlaps provides the specific data points we need to analyze the relationships between the 2 categories. Along the reeds, a different set of data appears. Here, 18 students play a sport, and 12 do not. Within that group of 18 sport players, exactly 9 also play an instrument. We want to find the relative frequency of instrument players specifically among the group of sport players. Since the question is only about the sport players, our denominator must be 18. Using the grand total of all students surveyed would give us a frequency for the whole class, not our specific subgroup.
9 out of 18 is 1/2, or 50%.
To calculate relative frequency accurately, we have to isolate the group being described and use its total as our baseline. Pause for a moment and calculate this relative frequency yourself, first as a fraction, then as a percentage. The math begins with this ratio: the 9 students who play both divided by the 18 students in the sport group. 9 over 18 simplifies to 1/2. 1/2 converts into a final rate of 50%. This 50% is the conditional relative frequency for instrument players, given that they play a sport. Converting raw numbers into percentages allows us to compare different groups fairly, even if one group is much larger than the other. Now we'll look for a connection between 2 variables: morning club membership and daily reading habits. Our data shows that 70% of club members read daily, while only 35% of non-members do the same. By comparing these percentages rather than raw counts, we can see a clear difference in behavior between the 2 groups. Because the reading rate is twice as high for club members, we can conclude there is an association between being in the club and reading every day. To find these patterns, we located the intersection of categories, calculated the relative frequency for our specific subgroup, and compared those rates. 2-way frequency tables clarify how different traits relate to one another, using these calculated rates to show when one habit is linked to another. Which mark in the environment proves the mathematical relationship, and how does the animal action make it true?
70% is greater than 35%, suggesting an association.